We're counting down 13 of the beastliest AMG Mercedes F1 safety cars you'd wish to drive. While you might not be able to drive the actual safety cars, there are road-going versions of these beasts used to tame the F1 monsters, bringing race-bred performance into your hands. Get to know the first AMG F1 safety car, the Pocket Rocket, the Gullwing God, and more. 13. This is where it all started, the C36 AMG. The first official collaboration between Mercedes-Benz and AMG. Back in the 90s, AMG wasn't the performance powerhouse we know today. It was still proving that it was more than just a really good tuning shop. And what better way to do that than with a 3.6-liter inline-six producing 276 horsepower and 284 pound-feet of torque. Sure, that might not sound like much today, but in 1995, this thing was an absolute menace. 0 to 60 miles an hour in 5.8 seconds and a 155-mile-an-hour top speed? That was seriously quick for a luxury sedan back then. And let's not forget, it was also the first AMG-badged F1 safety car, setting the stage for decades of fire-breathing V8 monsters. The C36 walked so the AMG V8s could roar. Would you still take one today? Absolutely. 12. Back in the late 90s, if you wanted a car that looked sophisticated but had the attitude of a street brawler, AMG had the perfect solution. Enter the CLK55 AMG, the underrated king. The coupe looked like it belonged at a country club but could outrun most sports cars of its time. Under that refined exterior sat a 5.4-liter naturally aspirated V8 producing 342 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque. The result? A 0 to 60 time of just 4.9 seconds, which meant that this thing could leave Ferraris questioning their life choices. As an official safety car, while F1 cars were tearing up the track, the CLK55 AMG was the one keeping them in line. Luxury performance and a mean streak. This was AMG showing the world that muscle and class could go hand in hand. An absolute sleeper with a knockout punch. 11. The early 2000s were all about big, bold, and brutally fast Mercedes coupes. And the CL55 AMG fit the bill perfectly. It packed a 5.4-liter naturally aspirated V8, churning out 354 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque, launching it from 0 to 60 in just 5.5 seconds. Not bad for something that looked like it belonged in a billionaire's driveway. But here's where it got interesting. Active body control ABC suspension. This meant it could ride like a sports car while keeping the ride silky smooth, defying physics in true AMG fashion. It had the luxury of a high-end cruiser but the attitude of a track weapon. If Batman needed a Mercedes back in the day, this would have been it, a stealthy Autobahn missile, dressed to kill, but always ready to throw a punch. Brutal, elegant, and effortlessly cool. 10. Supercharged V8? Check. Nearly 500 horsepower? Check. The ability to turn tires into smoke on demand? Absolutely. The SL55 AMG was an icon. And not just because it was fast, it had the kind of presence that made Ferraris look twice. Under the hood sat a 5.4-liter supercharged V8, cranking out 493 horsepower and a monstrous 516 pound-feet of torque. The result? A 0 to 60 time of just 4.5 seconds, which was absurd for a luxury roadster in the early 2000s. And it wasn't just numbers. The SL55 had the perfect mix of brute force and top-down elegance. Drop the top, floor the gas, and suddenly you're in the middle of a supercharger symphony with V8 thunder shaking the pavement. It became one of AMG's best-selling models, and for a good reason. Fast, loud, and effortlessly cool, it was basically a Bond car you could actually buy. 9. Another CLK? Oh, absolutely. But this one was even more refined, even more dialed in, and just as thrilling. The 5.4-liter naturally aspirated V8 under the hood pushed out 362 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque, sending this coupe from 0 to 60 in just 4.7 seconds. That meant you could humiliate unsuspecting sport cars at stoplights without even trying. But here's where the CLK55 AMG stood out. It wasn't just about raw speed. AMG nailed the balance between power and comfort. The handling was sharp, responsive, and perfectly tuned, making it just as fun to throw around corners as it was to cruise on the highway. This was a proper performance coupe that didn't compromise. Need a comfortable daily? Done. Want a weekend thrill machine? Also done. AMG built a car that could do it all, and do it with style. 8. Who says roadsters have to be cute and underpowered? AMG took one look at the SLK and said, let's give it a V8, and they didn't hold back. The 5.4-liter naturally aspirated V8 cranked out 355 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque, launching this lightweight roadster from 0 to 60 in just 4.9 seconds. That's right, this little thing packed more displacement than some full-size muscle cars. And the best part, it still had a retractable hardtop, meaning you could enjoy that thunderous AMG exhaust note with the roof down. It may look like a small convertible, but make no mistake, this was a serious performance machine. AMG basically stuffed a muscle car into a go-kart, creating a pocket rocket that could embarrass much bigger cars. If you ever wanted big power in a small package, this was it. Tiny car, massive personality, and an AMG badge to seal the deal. We're almost halfway, and I got a big favor to ask. If you enjoyed the video so far, click subscribe as you'll help me bring you more content. Thank you. 7. AMG has a habit of taking elegant Mercedes coupes and stuffing them with monstrously overpowered V8s, and the CLK63 AMG was one of their finest creations. This wasn't just a luxury coupe, it was a brute in a tailored suit, a muscle car that somehow found itself in a Mercedes showroom. Under the hood, a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 belting out 475 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. The result? A 0 to 60 time of just 4.3 seconds and a soundtrack that could make Ferrari owners jealous. And AMG wasn't messing around. This thing was so fast and capable that it was used as an F1 safety car, proving it had a real motorsport pedigree. Rear-wheel drive, an aggressive chassis, and a roaring exhaust made this one of AMG's most thrilling creations. Practical? Not really. Fun? Absolutely. And seriously, who wouldn't want a car with an F1 connection? 6. Some cars whisper, others roar. And then there's the SL63 AMG, a car that basically screamed, move or be obliterated. This wasn't just another Mercedes, it was the first AMG to feature the speed-shift MCT 7-speed transmission, meaning gear changes were instant, brutal, and oh so satisfying. Under the hood, the 6.2-liter naturally aspirated M156 V8, a masterpiece that cranked out 518 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. That meant a 0 to 60 time of just 4.5 seconds. But let's be real, you weren't watching the speedometer. You were too busy getting lost in that thunderous, earth-shaking exhaust note. Drop the top, hit the gas, and suddenly the world became your personal V8-powered concert hall. It was fast, loud, and effortlessly cool. A car that didn't ask for attention, it demanded it. And honestly, it deserved every second. 5. If AMG had a halo car, this was it. The SLS AMG wasn't just another high-performance Mercedes. It was designed from scratch by AMG, making it the first true AMG supercar. And boy did they go all out. Under the hood, a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated M159 V8, producing 563 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. That meant a 0 to 60 time of just 3.7 seconds and a top speed of 197 miles per hour. But let's be honest, the numbers weren't even the best part. Those gull-wing doors, instant icon status. The exhaust note, pure, unfiltered V8 thunder. This was a car that didn't just look good, it dominated on the road. It was brutal yet refined, aggressive yet elegant. A&D didn't just build a supercar, they created a legend. One that still turns heads and melts hearts to this day. 4. Just when you thought the SLS AMG couldn't get any crazier, AMG said hold my beer and unleashed the SLS AMG GT, a sharper, wider, and even more ferocious version of their already insane supercar. Under the hood, the same 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8, but this time it cranked out 583 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. The result? A 3.6-second launch to 60 miles an hour and a top speed of 197 miles per hour. But AMG wasn't just chasing numbers. They fine-tuned the suspension, stiffened the chassis, and recalibrated the transmission, making the GT feel like a track weapon disguised as a grand tourer. The gull-wing doors still stealing the show. The exhaust note still capable of waking up an entire city block. AMG didn't just upgrade the SLS, they turned it into a modern classic that'll forever be a dream car for enthusiasts. 3. AMG looked at the Porsche 911 and said, yeah, we're coming for you. And with the AMG GTS, they weren't just talking, they meant business. This wasn't just some soft grand tourer, this was a full-blown track weapon with a license plate. Under the hood, a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 pumping out 503 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. That's enough to rocket this beast from 0 to 60 in just 3.8 seconds with a top speed of 192 miles per hour. And it wasn't just about speed. Formula One chose it as the official safety car from 2015 to 2017. That means this thing was fast enough to control F1 cars mid-race. The lightweight aluminum chassis, precision-tuned suspension, and razor-sharp handling made it a serious 911 fighter. Porsche fanboys probably lost sleep over this one. AMG wasn't just competing, they were sending a message. The GTS wasn't a fluke, it was a warning shot. 2. They don't just hand out names like Beast of the Green Hell for fun. The AMG GTR earned it by tearing up the Nürburgring, proving it wasn't just fast, it was an apex hunting monster. Under the hood, 577 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time of 3.6 seconds. But straight-line speed was just the appetizer. This thing handled like a track car with a license plate, sticking to the tarmac like it was glued down. It had rear-wheel steering, an adjustable aero package, and a giant rear wing that screamed, "I mean business." AMG wasn't playing games. They built this thing for one purpose: domination. Even Formula One had to admit its greatness, using it as an official F1 safety car. If you wanted a car that looked like it belonged in a racing pit lane but could still turn heads on the streets, this was it. We've drooled over 12 AMG Mercedes monsters and saved the best for last. And now, the beastliest of them all. 1. AMG took one look at the competition and said, "Let's break every rule in the book." The result? The GT Black Series, the most extreme, most unhinged AMG F1 safety car ever. With a monstrous 720 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque, this beast catapulted from 0 to 60 in just 3.2 seconds. That's hypercar territory. Top speed, a mind-melting 202 miles an hour. But it wasn't just about raw numbers. AMG packed this machine with GT3-inspired aerodynamics. From the giant wing to the aggressive front splitter, this thing stuck to the road like it had unfinished business. And let's be real, AMG wasn't playing around. They built a road-legal track monster, stuffed it with the most powerful AMG V8 ever, and said, "Good luck keeping up." From the humble C36 to the monstrous GT Black Series, these AMGs have defined performance. Which one's your favorite? Subscribe and let us know in the comments. And don't forget, while F1 cars need safety cars, you just need a heavy right foot.